Hey, this is Durward, and coming back to you at the Aikido Virtual Dojo channel. Today we're going to talk about conflict. And when we usually talk about Aikido, we talk about the art of peace. And so sometimes what that means in a way is that, or what we think that means is that we try to avoid conflict. But actually, in Aikido, we're looking at how to change our perspective and look at conflict in a different way. And actually there's a process so that we're not necessarily avoiding or denying conflict or even trying to resist conflict, but actually allowing conflict as a catalyst for a way to evolve, as a way to change us. So we're going to talk and look at that today. Okay, so in Aikido, often what we might think of as conflict is something that we need to resist, or something that we need to win over or beat, or maybe run away from. And so these are typical reactions that we would have to conflict situations because they are uncomfortable, and they put us in a lot of pressure. And when we feel that pressure, then often we get triggered. So we want to start slowly and actually just begin with just that simple feeling of resistance. Just recognizing, first of all, that these are our typical reactions. And there's a very easy exercise that you can do with this when you have a partner. If you just start with a simple grab, and you're in the conflict, and just reenact, just kind of how would you normally feel it? Would you resist it? Would you try and win or beat it? Try and get the other person? Would you try and run away from it? What would be your typical reaction? And just feel that for a moment. Notice what happens when you try to do these things, and what happens especially with the partner, with the other, in the conflict. Okay? So that would be a first step, is just to kind of feel what usually happens. Okay? In the next step, we want to simply recognize the actual conflict without necessarily resisting or escaping or any other typical reactions that we might have. So if we go back to the single hand grab here, and instead of tensing and resisting or trying to run away or avoid it, just okay, it's not there, these typical reactions, we're going to acknowledge it. We're going to just simply recognize the fact that, okay, this is happening. Oh, okay, in this situation, he literally just has my wrist. He doesn't have all of me. He just has the wrist. And I see him better. Right? I'm not just focused here, but actually I go, oh, this conflict actually has a source. There's something putting forth, some energy here that's asking for something, that's giving something. And so I recognize these things simply. Okay, so after being able to recognize the situation, it gives you a little bit more space. It opens you up. Okay, you can almost see it, feel it, especially even in a physical practice. And now when that happens, there's something very interesting that starts to show up. So we'll go back to the original conflict here. Okay, we were very resistive in the beginning, and then we just acknowledged it. Say, oh, okay, this is actually happening. I don't need to resist it right now. I don't need to run away from it, but I do need to acknowledge it because it does exist. And when I do that, I actually start to feel it more. I feel what's happening. I see what's happening. Maybe hear what's happening. Things start to happen more. I get more information. I start to recognize that even myself, when I have acknowledged myself in the situation, that actually I have a lot more possibilities, a lot more freedom in this moment. And actually I can feel also more possibilities because of the actual specific conflict. It's actually showing me in a way what is possible because of this. Right? That's not so possible, but this is possible. That's possible. And you just get a sense of feeling and exploring what is possible in this simple conflict. Okay, now again, we're not doing combat or trying to work against each other. We're doing a conflict so that we can explore together. And we might look at exploring together versus conflict in a different video. Okay. So where do we go from here? Right? When we start to feel into the conflict itself, well, a lot can happen. First of all, if we go back to our original conflicts and we start to feel into it, we start to notice and include not only ourselves and our own sort of possibilities, but also directly into the conflict itself, what is possible with this particular conflict. It's maybe not exactly what I thought. And I start to notice the other in the conflict as well. And I can work with the other one in that way too, instead of against, which really makes this much easier. Right? Being able to include, because I have more information. And because of that, then you'll start to notice maybe even a change in your partner or a change in the other in the conflict. Right? When I get resistive, I provoke something. Even when I try to run away, I provoke something. But when I feel into it and I acknowledge it, and something also begins to change. And the way I'm kind of giving the other a little bit of what they want, in the sense that they're wanting this, my attention. They're wanting this attention. And because of that, then something changes in the nature of the conflict itself. The energy, the feeling, the intensity of the conflict will start to change. Right? And that'll allow for all kinds of possibilities. I can start to understand and feel what's going on, even for my partner, which gives me even more information. Right? I listen and align with what's happening here. I listen to my partner as well as myself. And then I notice what's happening. And I can respond because the energy itself, the conflict itself, gives me the answer. I don't need to know, even if he changes it up a little bit. I am listening to it, and that gives me the response. Okay? So it's just being appropriate by listening and feeling deeper into the conflict. And this is one way that you can use to explore how to change your perspective with conflict. So going from conflict to actually just receiving energy, acknowledging the moment, and actually some sort of evolution where we may evolve into something new where we actually both gain from this. So almost as kind of a gift in a way. So thank you for watching. If you have any comments or if you want to add to this, if there's anything more that you see in this process, why don't you put some comments in below and subscribe to the channel.